President Biden has said the US would come to Taiwan's defense if it were attacked by China. The comments are a departure from a long-standing US policy of being vague about its commitments to the island. A White House spokesman has told US media outlets that his remarks did not signify a change in policy. Well, I'm joined now by Professor Kerry Brown, who's director of the Lao-China Institute at King's College London. Kerry Brown, thank you for joining us. What do you make of these comments by President Biden?
Well, the context of the comments is a kind of increasingly difficult relationship between China and the United States, with China in the last few weeks having military kind of exercises very, very close to Taiwan and also incursions into Taiwan's airspace. So in that context, these comments are a sort of sign to Beijing to just, lay off. But the problem is that in Beijing, their kind of mindset is America is already too pushy and forceful, and they don't feel that this is really an issue for America to get involved in because they regard the Taiwanese issue as an internal issue, even though, of course, America regards Taiwan as being a kind of separate entity.
Now, the White House quite quickly said that there had been no change in policy. These were comments made in a town hall kind of situation, not pre-prepared. Do you think President Biden slightly misspoke, or did he mean to say what he said?
I'm sure it's deliberate. It's an extremely important area of policy. It's always been kind of covered in ambiguity. In 1979, when the United States shifted diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to the People's Republic, it had the Taiwan Relations Act, and that really kind of commits the United States to, kind of taking care or like being very aware of Taiwan's security. To say that they would stand by Taiwan, of course, is a much stronger statement, but it's not a kind of unexpected statement because America has said that it is Taiwan's principal security guarantor.
Just a few minutes ago here on BBC World News, a previous guest said that Taiwan right now is the most dangerous potential flashpoint in the world. What do you think of that?
Yes, it is an extremely difficult situation because 23 million people on Taiwan certainly don't believe that their fate should be wrapped up with that of, the People's Republic. They're very strongly Taiwanese in their identity. And I think Beijing's kind of stance is that it knows that any military intervention would be really, really disastrous and catastrophic. And yet it feels extremely anxious and, kind of wound up by the way that America and others are kind of getting more and more involved in this issue, like it's a provocation. So words really matter in this issue because they can be misinterpreted and things can escalate really quickly. There are very clear red lines.
Professor Kerry Brown, director of the Lao-China Institute at King's College here in London. Good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Tensions ran high across the Taiwan Strait ahead of Pelosi's visit. Taiwan Defense Ministry says 21 Chinese military aircraft entered its air defense identification zone Tuesday. China's military earlier said it was on high alert and would launch a series of targeted military actions in response to Pelosi's trip. It has since announced plans for a series of military exercises in waters around the island beginning Wednesday, including live fire military drills. The Chinese Foreign Ministry also repeated its stern opposition to Pelosi's visit. It accused the U.S. of acting like a bully in front of the whole world, which it believes will make everyone see how it is the biggest danger to world peace. It adds Washington should take responsibility for all serious consequences of its actions.
The United States playing down news of Chinese fighter jets crossing the Taiwan Strait. The White House says Washington has security commitments in the region, which it takes seriously. Several U.S. warships are now cruising near Taiwan amid Chinese anger over Pelosi's visit. The U.S. Navy published images of the USS Ronald Reagan conducting maneuvers in the Philippine Sea south of Taiwan. The Japan-based nuclear power aircraft carrier is operating with a guided missile cruiser and a destroyer. The amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli is also operating east of Taiwan. The Ronald Reagan and the Tripoli are both carriers of the largest generation F-35 fighter jets. U.S. officials have sought to reassure Beijing the positioning of the ships in the region was not linked to Pelosi's trip. But the White House says Washington would make sure the U.S. House Speaker had a safe and secure visit. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi now in Taiwan for the second leg of her Asia-Pacific tour. She arrived Tuesday night, defying a string of increasingly stark warnings and threats from China. Pelosi, who will meet with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen today, says the visit of the congressional delegation honors America's unwavering commitment to supporting Taipei's democracy. Pelosi is the highest-profile elected American official to visit Taiwan in 25 years, and Beijing has made it clear that it regards her presence as a major provocation. But Pelosi insists her visit in no way contradicts long-standing U.S. policy. The U.S. National Security Council also standing by Pelosi's right to visit Taiwan, saying nothing has changed regarding U.S. commitments to the One China policy. China considers Taiwan part of its territory.
Marcos administration officials defend the president's decision not to have the Philippines rejoin the International Criminal Court. Solicitor General Menardo Guevara says President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has the prerogative to determine what international organizations the Philippines may join as chief architect of the country's foreign policy. But a senior expert at the International Center for Transitional Justice, Attorney Ruben Carranza, flagged Marcos's 180-degree turn, pointing out that when Marcos was still a senator, he was among those who ratified the Rome Statute in 2011. Still, the palace maintains the matter at hand is an issue of sovereignty. It insists allegations of human rights violations committed during the Duterte administration are already being investigated.
Iniimbestigahan naman po ang mga reklamo ukol dun sa mga namamatay during the drug war. Kung kaya't hindi na nangangailangan pang tumugon sa ICC o bumalik ang ating bansa sa Rome Statute.
Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla says his office will furnish the ICC with available information on its probe of drug war killings, not out of compliance, but as a matter of comedy. It was in 2018 when former President Rodrigo Duterte unilaterally withdrew the country from the Rome Statute. It came after the ICC announced it would start a preliminary